Welcome back to the Remedial Film Class Podcast. I'm your host, Dan.
And I'm Travis.
I'm George.
And I'm new.
Hey, new. Nice to meet you.
Hey, I'm Megz.
Mini
nice to
Megz.
meet you guys. Hi. I'm just vibing. How about you?
Welcome to the den.
Thank you. It's exciting to be here. I've never done a podcast before, so this is a new experience.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Mini Megz joins us from Twitch. There will be very little Nintendo tonight, not as much Animal Crossing as you're used to, but there will be blood and guts, and so I hope you feel right at home.
I mean, who wouldn't feel at home with blood and guts? Classic homey, excitement right there.
It's Norman Rockwell.
Nothing better.
It's Norman Rockwell.
At least on this show
Yes,
it is.
indeed.
George, you just watched Halloween 5. How you feeling, man?
Oh, fantastic.
Did Michael Myers get his revenge? Hold that thought. Let's find out. Travis, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great.
Now, you've
Feeling
seen
good,
this
Louis.
before, right? You've seen Halloween 5 probably multiple times.
Yeah.
I was going to
yes.
say, I'd guess no.
Yes and no.
Oh.
I've seen it a couple times back in the Dizzle when it came out, but no, I haven't
Dizzle.
watched. Yeah, well, I haven't watched it in like 20 years. So
Okay.
this was
Wow.
kind of a first watch for me.
Nice. So, Meg, tell us about your history with the Halloween franchise. How familiar are you with Michael Myers and pumpkins and butcher knives?
So I actually have never seen any of the Halloween movies at all.
Well, I have good
Nothing.
news for you, Megz. This one is the best one.
The best.
Yep.
No.
Wow.
This is the best Halloween movie
Sacrilege.
there is out of the entire franchise. This one,
Bullshit.
perfection.
This one takes the cake, is what you're
Yeah,
telling me.
perfection. It's a
Yeah.
masterpiece.
Don't do that to her.
Now,
There's
Meg, I don't know how often you listen to our show, but one of my favorite things to do is
Mm-hmm.
science, right? I like to experiment on the
He
people
likes to
who
science.
make this show.
I love that.
And so some of the science this week was to see if Halloween 5, definitely the pinnacle of the series, unless you look at all the other movies, which are better. Does
That's not what I
Halloween
heard.
5 give you Does Halloween 5 give you enough to work with as a new viewer to understand anything that's happening in this movie? So that's what we want to find out. What does the science tell us about Halloween 5 and how successful it is at introducing a new viewer to the lore of Michael Myers?
Okay,
So my first question for Meg, before we even go any further,
let's hear it.
which one is Michael Myers?
It was really hard to tell. But I think the stabby stab guy was probably Michael Myers.
Did
Final
they ever
answer.
explain who he was or why he was doing the things he was doing?
No, not really.
Okay.
So I actually took a lot of notes.
Oh.
Fully prepared because I feel like you asking me to watch this, knowing that I've seen no other Halloween movies, that it was kind of like an experiment. Like you were like, all right, what's gonna be the take on this? So can you hear that?
Oh, yeah. Sounds like
Can you hear it? My notes.
I
It's
know
roughly
exactly what you're going to say.
it's roughly 8 pages of notes.
wow. I only have one.
Yeah, I took 8 pages of notes. But I noticed that it was taking me a bit to understand what was going on. So, like, one of the things that I wrote down immediately was why is this woman running over Michael Myers? Also, she runs him down, goes over him with the front and back wheels, and then he flies like 15 feet in the air. And I wanted to ask, what the physics were behind that. That
Did-
you could get run over
Did
and then
she go
fly.
front and back wheels?
I
Sure.
thought so.
Nah, I thought he went over the windshield.
Oh, I thought it was a ka-thunk, but maybe it was not. Maybe I misjudged that. But then the little girl comes out and she like goes and like holds his hand. And I was like, why are you holding this man's hand? I think he was trying to kill you, but I don't know. I don't know what brought about that situation. So there's a lot of notes of me asking questions
Oh,
and me
fantastic.
saying, like, so there is an elderly gentleman with burns on his face who is, very, very adamant about a lot of things that just
Mhm.
appears. And I was like,
Mhm.
okay, is this
Mhm.
like her grandfather? Is he
J-
like just a
that's a-
mysterious
That's a
man
fantastic question.
that
Fantastic question.
appeared out of the woods? And I had a lot of questions that I know that people who are familiar with the movies, they were already answered. They knew who these characters were. And I was just sitting there trying to put together the pieces. So I have a lot of notes where I wrote down questions, and then like probably halfway through the movie, I was like, oh, right, there's the answer. And I go
Oh.
back and write it down. But I feel like eventually I learned most of the things. But as far as do they ever explain why he's doing this? No. I don't think I ever realized there was something about rage, and he has no emotions. And but then also there was rage. So I was a little confused.
Meg,
And they're like,
I appreciate your preparation and your enthusiasm.
thank you.
You
Yes.
gave this movie way too much effort. Like far, far too much. But we'll try to answer all your questions.
Well,
Anyway.
experiment
I have a lot.
two. Experiment
I have a
two
lot.
is to have George explain Michael Myers to you,
Well, I'll
Oh.
try.
Yes.
because he's kind of a newbie as well.
I have noticed that.
As
from
the
from
second least
past
qualified
episodes.
person.
And Dan and I will just sit
Hey, you
back.
finally get to say that.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, you're the
Sure.
other expert.
The second.
George is the third expert of the show.
Is it too early for me to be issuing burns like that? Should I
No.
maybe
No.
episode
Zing 'em.
2? Okay. Just checking.
No, absolutely.
I had a couple burns. I'm just going to read the room for a little bit and then see what happens.
Oh, dude.
We love it.
Oh, man. Dan, are you just going to let George do the all the answering, or are we going to just like sit back, or are we going to chime in?
You
I
guys
mean-
can help me out.
As a
Probably.
challenge, I would like to hear George real quick. Just give us a rundown. Who is Michael Myers and what's going on with this movie?
Without spoiling the original, because I do want her to watch the original.
Oh.
Ooh, okay.
Oh,
Okay.
well then maybe we
I
don't
think I
tell her
can
who
do that.
Michael Myers is, because
I mean,
Okay.
you
She
could
should go
always
back and
wait.
watch it. It's an experience that she should have, I think.
Hey.
I think I can explain who Michael Myers is without
Okay.
spoiling.
Don't go into part 2. Just
Yeah.
leave it as part 1.
I can already tell. Don't even touch part 2. You just leave it be, okay?
It's tough, isn't
Avoid
it?
it.
I know.
But I can't explain that.
You can just say,
I'm actually signing things to Travis. I'm like, she's gonna ask about this, and he's can
you
I?
can explain the burns, just don't
Okay.
explain the lineage. That's all.
Okay.
If that makes
Okay.
sense.
Okay. So, who is Michael Myers?
Oh.
Michael Myers is a disturbed child,
Was,
Okay.
yes.
right? He went to a mental institution for a number of years.
Mhm.
Escaped.
Why did he go to the mental institution?
Do I say it? Is that a reveal?
Yeah, you can say what
He murdered his sister
Murders somebody in his family, right?
Oh,
He
as
murdered his
one
sister.
does. Yes.
when he was only a child. They locked him up. Not in jail, but in an institution.
Okay.
And should I tell her who Loomis is?
Well, that's the doctor.
Sure.
Okay.
I think.
Loomis was his
You don't have to tell
Psychiatrist?
me who he is related to him, like if they're, blood related or
No.
whatever.
No, Loomis was his psychiatrist.
Okay.
Who
I picked up
after-
on that.
After a number of years working with Michael, realized that he was just pure evil and there was nothing he was going to be able to do. Michael Myers escapes from the institution and
Hilarity ensues.
events happen.
Events happen.
Yes.
Vince, yes.
So
Okay.
he basically stalks some people,
Mm-hmm.
babysitters, and
Important people.
important people.
People
Yeah.
that are
that eventually become related to the characters in the movie you watched.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Is
I
that
did
good, Dan, or-
notice- I mean, it sounds good to me. Dan, what you think?
No, it was awful. That was the worst explanation of Halloween I've ever heard, but it's his first time, so I'll let him
Oh
slide.
no.
Megan, in the past, I believe
Yes.
you've seen the first Friday the 13th. And
I have,
I'm
actually.
pretty sure that you've seen it because I'm pretty sure I showed it to you at my house.
You did. Fun fact, that is one of the only classic slasher films I've ever seen in my entire life. So
Now, what
it was a
what you
beautiful
didn't know at the
memory.
time was that Friday the 13th was made essentially as a cash-in on the success of Halloween. And so when you eventually watch the first Halloween, you're going to recognize kind of beat for beat moments that Friday the 13th stole just a couple years later. So some of
I
it you're going to be like,
love
oh, I've
that.
seen this before, but this is actually a little better than Friday the 13th. But the movies go in vastly different directions. So
Okay.
you haven't
I'm
seen Halloween
excited.
yet, but you've seen what Halloween
But
inspired.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
No, you haven't seen it.
You're going
I
to watch it
haven't?
tonight.
Oh
No.
gosh.
Does she own? Do you own it? Do you have access
No,
to
but
it?
I'm sure I could find it.
Okay.
Sure I could find it somewhere.
Yeah, you
She's
should watch it
local.
tonight.
I'm sure I can show her
Maybe
Halloween.
Yeah, there you
maybe
go.
I don't know. I have a friend named Dan. He's kind of a big like movie nerd.
So you guys, you know each other.
Yeah.
Okay, so then my joke goes away.
It was a good
Little
joke,
bit.
though.
It was a good joke, but I can't. It's a joke. Is this a joke?
Is this it?
Yeah.
Is this a joke?
I was. Should I say it?
Is this it? Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So I was under the impression that you knew each other through,
The internet?
apps.
The
Through
internet.
apps. The interwebs.
Did
and
you
you
just
didn't
say
really
apps?
through apps, whatever it is.
Like
that
they had appetizers.
appetizers. When you're
At
waited
Chili's.
on at a restaurant, whatever.
We were at Chili's. We were both eating apps and desserts, and I was like, "Yo, I bet you like slasher films." And he's like, "Absolutely, I do." And so then we
Boom.
watched a movie together. Boom. That's it.
So I thought you drove in tonight, and this was the first time you were meeting Dan in person.
No.
Okay,
Fun
so-
fact: I have known Dan for a long time.
Okay,
Before
Probably-
I was even remedial, she knew me. So.
nice.
I did.
Okay. So that's
I-
good then.
I believe we had discussed the birth of this podcast, or your wish to start a podcast and talk about these things before you started it.
Yeah,
Nice.
if anything, you would have been one of my test victims with Friday the 13th to see if I could make it interesting for new people. So yeah,
right.
there you go.
I believe you used that exact tagline when having me watch it. So
'Cause
yes.
I was picturing Dan saying, "Would you help me do this podcast in my van?" It's like-
Listen, I have really cool internet friends, and we love talking about movies. And
Nice.
I
Can you
would
help me get
love-
this podcast into my van?
Yeah. I also have candy in there, if that makes
Ooh.
it better.
Nice.
Travis just got in the van.
Oh, man.
Is that how you? Is that how we found everybody else?
Yeah. So forget that. Forget it now because it doesn't matter. But
Well,
it was funny in my
brilliant.
head.
It was funny outside your head too. I believe in you, and I'm really proud of you.
Nice.
A couple of things I noticed right off the top of the movie Halloween 5.
Yes.
The movie we're talking about tonight that we haven't talked about in
Wait,
like 20 minutes.
right. Okay. Sorry.
Halloween 5, the revenge
Huh?
of Michael Myers, sort of, I guess. I don't know he got
Sort
any
of.
revenge.
Is that
in
the
this movie.
tagline?
That's the tag.
It is the tagline.
Yeah, part 4 was the return, and part 5 is revenge. Ugh.
I think it was more revenge against the fans of Michael Myers.
I don't know. It's
Wow.
you talk about TV shows jumping the shark, but this one manages to jump the parrot in like the first 5 minutes.
Stop. I noticed the parrot too.
Why was there a parrot?
And also, not
Why not?
only does this elderly man in the woods have a parrot, but Michael joins him in his parrot hut in the woods. And
Hmm.
it says a year later
For an entire
When-
year.
when he wakes up. So my thought was, is he like nursing? Like, is he caring for Michael? Like, is Michael Myers in a coma and he's just like feeding and changing him for a year?
Ooh.
Like, exactly. And I was like, oh, surely that can't be it. I literally even looked back and it was like, no, 1 year later. And I was like, all right.
I
Right,
don't
Now,
my
see,
dude.
none of
evil
that.
shits.
N-
So
Yeah.
evil
Apparently.
shits tonight.
See, none of that even registered with me
Right.
because I was still, I think, amazed at the old parrot man's like ninja skills that he apparently had. because 1 second he was getting choked
Hmm.
by Mike Myers, and the next second Mike Myers was on the ground.
Yeah, I think he
It's
fainted.
true.
He,
He
well,
did. He
here's the
passed
thing.
out.
The
I thought he
lore
was a
is-
ninja.
The
Like the
lore-
old guy was like, ha!
he gave
And
him
then- Yeah, he gave him
yeah,
like the
Klingon or
what's
whatever it
the
the Vulcan death grip,
the finger
the finger poke.
yeah.
Yeah, down. I don't know. I'm assuming the lore is that he lies dormant until Halloween night. So now that's
Ah.
what I thought. My other thought was, and after I thought of this, I wound up listening to some interviews with the director, and everything I thought is out the window because this guy's batshit crazy. But
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
I
let's hear
thought
it.
it was kind of an homage to Frankenstein and the old blind man in the woods that Frankenstein ends up befriending
Mhm.
for a part of the movie, like
Yeah.
a little bit of the movie,
Mhm.
which I don't think it is. Like listening to interviews with this guy, half the shit he did was just, I don't know, let's throw shit against the wall and see what sticks.
You
kinda
don't
thing.
say.
Yeah. So like the Man in Black was just something that came up on the set. They were like,
You don't say.
yeah. So they're like, all right, we're just going to tease this guy and then we'll figure it out later. Yeah, that's literally what it came from. You know, oh, we're not going to use the Myers house from everybody's memory. We're going to do a 3-story Victorian mansion
Mhm.
because we need to do this laundry chute bit and we need a big house to do the laundry chute bit.
Oof.
And I'm sitting there going, dude,
No,
have you ever watched the Halloween
don't.
movie? You don't do that. That's like saying, oh, we're not going to use the Ark in the Noah's movie. We're going to use like the SS Minnow.
Yeah.
Like, you just, to me, it's like there's certain things you have to do correctly. And he didn't seem to give a shit about any of that.
Yeah.
Now, a couple of things for background that Meg might want to know about Michael Myers. Prior to this movie, he has been shot no less than 30 times. And burned to the point that, like, I mean, he should have been a pile of ashes.
I was going to ask, does he live in a bulletproof vest? Because one of the first things that I wrote in that opening scene was, how did he just survive that? Like, he got shot, twice in the opening scene and then several times later on?
Well, you know, they explain it really well by not ever explaining it at all.
Well, in the first movie, he was shot 6 times.
Yes.
Wow. Does
And
he
then
ever
the second
seek
movie-
medical care? Or
Well, odd you should ask. He does spend some time at a hospital.
Yes.
So you'll have to
And
go
he
back
gets-
and watch some old Halloween movies.
He gets some burns. But
Hey.
which is funny, they kind of keep that continuity. They show his burned hands,
Mhm.
but his face isn't burned.
Mm-mm.
But they don't bother any continuity at all with any of the other characters. Like,
No.
the doctor completely has been changed, personality-wise. Jamie, the little girl, changed.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yep.
everything is out the window just to set up the 6th movie.
So
This Man in Black.
a couple of things, Meg. The adorable little girl who is mute for most of this movie, kind of scene by scene, varied. She murders
Wait.
a woman at the end of the 4th movie.
And
Yeah.
we do get to see that.
Yes.
But
In
in the in the 4th movie, it kind of comes out of nowhere. Like, all of a sudden, she stabs the woman to death with scissors.
Also,
and then the cops
in the
point a gun at her.
Okay.
also in the 4th
Wow.
movie, she can talk.
Yeah.
So
So they took one of their best actresses in the movie and they made
Yeah.
her mute.
yes, and her performance was stellar.
Yeah.
And then they
So-
put her in this movie and made her not talk.
So she does eventually learn to talk, or becomes able to talk again later on. But I was confused in the beginning because she wakes up from this I thought was a nightmare only, but then I later find out, no, that actually happened. She really did stab someone, but she's like silently like
Screaming, yes.
screaming, but not screaming. And I was like, okay, is this a medical condition? Is this like a historical event from the other movies? So that was definitely one thing that I circled back to.
That would be a reasonable thing to think.
It was a Rocky recap.
But no.
Every Rocky movie starts with the ending of the movie prior. So
Yeah.
basically what
Yeah.
it was.
Okay.
So they were supposed to give you everything you needed to know in that first 5 minutes so that you could
It's a
watch
shame
the
they didn't
movie.
have like a creepy security guard. You know,
Right,
in the
to give
beginning of
the
this movie.
exposition,
Yeah.
right.
Like someone
No.
that just stands in front of the camera. 20 years ago on this
Yeah.
night, we
Exactly.
see Jamie.
They need the guy from
That's in the next one.
what's that? What's that
They
old
need
movie?
Robin
like
Williams from
Unsolved.
Aladdin to
No.
give the,
Well, yes, you're right.
Yes.
I was thinking the dude from Unsolved Mysteries.
Oh, Robert
like,
Stack.
yeah,
Yeah.
to
Robert
give
Stack.
the
This is a story.
like, what if
of
the movie
Michael
just
Myers.
started out as an episode of Unsolved Mysteries,
They could do that.
and then boom, and then it goes.
Maybe that's how Halloween ends or starts.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Or ends. Who knows?
Or ends.
Now, one thing I wanted to know for a new viewer who hasn't seen the other movies, or George, who probably doesn't remember most of them.
And didn't
Or
watch
George.
this one.
At the beginning of this movie, you see a tattoo on Michael's wrist.
Yes.
Now, George, can you explain the tattoo on Michael's wrist?
No, I cannot.
Ooh.
But you've seen Halloween 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8. Yeah, you've seen all those Halloweens.
That is correct.
And you can't explain the tattoo on his arm.
Nope.
That's interesting, don't you think?
I can't even explain it, and I've seen it 35 times. I've seen it 6 times.
Nope.
Oh,
You know
no.
what's hysterical is if you ask the director of this movie in 1989 to explain the tattoo on Michael's wrist, I'm pretty sure he would say, I don't know, we wait till next movie.
No, actually, he did comment on its origin of that like design. So they kind of were going the route that they wound up going in a unplanned out way. Like they did decide to go that route.
If a person were familiar with certain, I guess, would it be
Is it Celtic?
sociology? Like, who
What,
would
psychology? What?
someone who knows
Tell-
about like Celtic curses
Oh,
and
like mythology.
yeah, like
Symbology.
symbology. If you're familiar with Celtic symbology, right away in the theater, you were
Symbology,
like me
yes.
watching The Dark Knight, and you were like, "Oh, I see exactly what they're doing."
The
But everybody
triumvirate.
else, everybody else is like, "What is that triangle on his wrist? And why does the guy with the cowboy hat have one too?"
Ooh, yes.
Yes.
Guy with the cowboy hat.
The Man in Black, Johnny Cash himself, mows
Johnny
down a whole bunch of police and frees Michael Myers for some reason.
I
Spoiler
called
alert.
him steel-toed boots
There you go.
in all of my notes.
Click
Because you
clack.
don't see the hat until the very end.
Oh, it's there. You gotta know to look for it.
Now, Dan, I have an observation. I don't know if I want to bring it up now, but you'll kind of enjoy it in a way.
Put it out
Because-
there. Let's hear it.
Okay.
Hear it. Ready.
1989 Travis watched this movie
Yes.
in the theater.
God, the same year as Batman. The same year as
Yeah.
what else came out?
Yes.
Didn't Indiana Jones have a movie that summer too?
It was a big year. Yeah.
Big year for movies.
Mm.
Halloween 5, not really in that weight
No.
class. Go on.
So I didn't watch it in the theater, but I did watch it on VHS. And I remember seeing the guy in black.
The
and
cowboy.
The cowboy. And
Oh boy.
huge mystery there. Then, a couple years later, a little movie called Jason Goes to Hell comes out. And there's a character in that movie called, is it Creighton Duke, who is dressed almost exactly the same, but without the trench. I honestly thought back then that they were doing a universe
A Marvel
type thing.
universe.
Well, way before Marvel even existed in the universe.
Well, yeah.
But a crossover type situation, almost like a Kolchak. I don't know if you know who Kolchak is. He was like in the 70s. He like looked for vampires and stuff. It was like a almost like Columbo, but he was like a vampire hunter or a monster hunter.
Yeah.
So I was
Just one
thinking
last
that
question, Dracula.
Columbo.
I honestly thought they were going to connect
Mm-hmm.
these almost like a serial killer, not a collector, but almost like someone who fights them.
Oh,
and
yeah.
puts them away.
Like the
And-
Reverend from the last movie.
Almost like a Van Helsing character
Yeah.
from Dracula.
Yes.
And I'm like, they didn't do that, obviously. But when I was watching that, I was like, how is it that this guy looks exactly like the mystery guy in Halloween? Because the Halloween 6 didn't come out till 2 years after Jason Goes to Hell. So We waited 6 years for the answer to the question of who the fuck was the guy in black? What did the tattoo mean? And where did Myers go? We had no idea for 6 years.
Wow.
They put out a sequel in a year after part 4. They told the Jamie Lloyd story in 2 years, and then they waited 6 years to give you the conclusion, and they didn't even bring people back from this movie. So, yeah.
Okay.
So when I was watching, I was like, what are they doing? Are they building this universe? It's almost like Monster Squad kind of thing. What are they doing? And they never even touched on that again. Jason Goes to Hell goes away. That character, Duke, goes away. Like, none of it's answered.
Travis, I appreciate your enthusiasm,
I had a lot of
but
enthusiasm.
you've
back then.
given this theory way too much
But I was like
effort.
14 years old, so it's different.
Okay.
I had time to think about it.
Yeah.
I didn't have kids.
See, I don't even know if I should say this now because you're like, I was 14. I was a kid. Don't judge me, because whenever this happened and I saw this man with the boots, I kept waiting for them to reveal who he was, and then he went in and released him from jail, and I saw the hat, and I was like, wait, is this like a Freddy like crossover? Because he had the hat.
Right.
And I was like, I know that there were a lot of like crossover like horror films. I don't know what they are.
They
'Cause if-
hinted towards the Freddy Jason at the end of Jason Goes to Hell.
Okay.
So that was 93.
Yeah, because I know
Yeah.
eventually they happened. I don't know what all the titles are. But that was my first thought. I was like, oh dang, they setting it up for a crossover.
Are there other slasher crossovers? That's the only one I know of.
In the 90s, they were going to do like an Evil Dead Freddy Leatherface crossover. Everything wound up becoming like a comic book. They never actually made the movies.
They were actually
Okay.
going to do a Hellraiser crossover
Hellraiser.
with
Mhm.
Halloween,
What?
which good luck
Interesting.
figuring that out.
That would be
Yeah.
Well,
a disservice to
if they
Hellraiser.
stuck to this storyline that they're going towards with this tattoo and everything, they could possibly do like a Rosemary's Baby type thing. I don't know, but it's like I don't know how they could tie in Hellraiser.
But the reason they did all these
Symbols in the box.
crossovers besides box office was there's a tradition in the Universal monsters.
Yes.
Frankenstein meets the werewolf, and the Invisible Man gives a hand job to the Human Centipede, and all these
What?
old.
I don't think that's a Universal monster.
That's a real movie.
I think that one was a slash
Ex-
fig.
Look it up.
That was a slasher.
No,
I think I was a giallo.
you can't
Google
just say
that.
Universal and then drop a sentence like that, Dan. Like, good
Thank you.
God.
Yeah, that's sacrilege.
Right. So yeah.
It's like
Gosh.
Creature from the Back Lagoon.
But back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, they did a lot of crossovers, and so
Yes.
once we had this new kind of horde of slasher guys, it was just natural to be like, hey, what if we pit these two against each other?
Mhm.
And then like it was really hard to get the rights, so they hardly ever did it.
I mean, I feel like that's always the case. You see like big bad monsters or, big powerful superheroes, and you're like, man, I wonder what that would look like if they fought each other. Like, who would win? Like, I feel like that's a very universally felt like wondering.
Yeah.
So
Let them
I'm
fight.
not surprised that they tried to make that into more of a franchise.
Yeah, anything would have made money back then because movies were not as good.
Wow.
They try.
Bold
yeah.
statement
I'm just saying.
from a
I-
podcast reviewing.
George
It's-
agrees.
It's
Specifically
not.
a lot of
He's
ones
not wrong.
I'm not wrong.
that
He's
are on
not
the other
wrong.
side. Just saying.
Let's put it this way: people paid money to see some shitty movies.
Yeah.
Twice. I used to
No,
work in a movie
seriously.
theater, and yeah, I would be surprised at the packed theaters for the crappy movies.
Like, I bet the year that The Shining came out, there was like 5 of these movies that all made like as much money.
I'm sure.
Like
Yeah, like Sleepaway Camp.
one movie is a masterpiece, and the rest are garbage. They all made money.
They all made money.
And when the studio is just like worried about making money, they're like, who's going to spend time on a masterpiece?
Right.
We could just make money this way.
That's why this franchise suffers so badly.
Yeah.
'Cause between the studio and the producer, it doesn't have a fighting chance. Like,
And the director and the actors and
well, even that, like
the set design and the
Mustafa Akkad basically was like, I own Michael Myers, and we will put him anywhere. It could be Michael Myers
in
at
space.
my best friend's wedding with
Yeah.
Michael Myers. Like, he didn't care.
Michael
Like,
Myers.
get me Julia
and The Walking
Roberts
Dead.
and Michael Myers. Like Richard Gere, Michael Myers, and Julia
Forbidden
Roberts.
romance.
Yeah, as long as Myers was in it, he didn't care. It's like Money Pit with Michael Myers. Like,
Actually, Michael Myers
I'd
is a
watch
pretty
that.
romantic.
me too.
Like he's a pretty romantic.
Actually, we just did.
It seems like every other movie's like, well, not even like almost every movie, Michael Myers. Yeah, let's call him Mike.
Let's call him Mike.
Shit, who cares? He has a
Get
moment.
the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Man,
He
we're
seems to have a
buddies.
moment
We're buddies
every
in this
movie.
way.
Like he connects with someone every single movie. What's
He's a
up with that?
romantic.
I'm not down with that. I don't
Yeah.
like it.
Why not?
I don't know. It makes me uncomfortable.
Well, they kind of tried to do what Dan was angry about last week when we watched part 4 was
Mhm.
the transition from like his entity into her and turning her into the next Michael Myers.
Mhm.
And then they shit can that.
Mhm.
And they're like, oh no, psychologically and telepathically,
Mhm.
he's controlling her and she's seeing through his eyes, which is even worse. Like, I would much rather her pick up the mantle.
You know what? I'd rather Michael Myers turn into black goo,
Right.
and
Oh.
infect people.
That will never happen, though. It's already been done. Oh, man.
And jump from person to person,
I really
infecting
wish,
different people with his mania.
Yeah,
I
I
really
mean,
wish Megz had seen all these, because then she'll understand how awesome this movie really is. Woof.
I mean,
Buzz, your Halloween movie. Woof.
I found some glimmers of hope, some diamonds in the rough, as one might say. Things
What
that
were they?
I very much enjoyed, but may not, pan out to be top tier movie material. but
This
were
is a no
something to
judgment zone.
notice.
Hold on a second.
Let's hear 'em.
In the words of the great Dan, go on.
Go on. Yes. Let's hear more. Leans back in
let's
chair.
hear these,
starts
because I have
taking
four
notes.
that are good. I have a whole page here of what the fuck moments,
Yeah.
and then I have like 4 things that I did like. So
Oh, okay.
I'd like to hear yours.
So one thing that I noticed, which I feel like it was a theme throughout. I saw it like in all parts of the movie, but their use of music to indicate a mood or what the director thought of these characters or the writer thought of these characters. Like for example, when that theme song comes on, he's somewhere, like he's coming, and it like builds suspense. Fun fact, I had no idea that very, very famous song sound was from this movie. I wrote
Really?
down,
Wow.
oh, this is the movie this is from. I'm embarrassed for you. Because I had no idea. And I was like, man, I'm dumb. Like, it was so funny not realizing this iconic, piece of music was from this. But something funny is when the police officers first show up.
Oh no.
It's when she calls the police. They tell her, the dog's barking and gets out, and they're like, get out of the house. So she runs out naked, goes to the neighbors, and somehow has a glamorous robe. I don't know where that came from, but she looks
Yeah.
great. And the police come up.
Hey, somebody get this chick a glamorous rope.
Yeah, she looks great. She looks like she's ready to sign autographs. Like, I'm like,
Isn't that a
yes,
Prince
yes,
song?
queen, pop off.
Yes.
So
it is.
when the police come walking, the music sounds like
Brr,
carnival
brr,
music,
brr,
and it's
Yeah,
like,
it's like
bah, bah,
Keystone
bah,
Cops.
bah, 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 and they have like clown nose honking sounds.
Yep.
Literally in the music.
Now,
And
so,
I
now hold
thought
on.
that was so funny.
Okay. All right. I was gonna say this is something you liked.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right.
I'm a big fan. Now, I don't know if this is going to be a contentious opinion, me saying this about this type of movie, but I'm a fan of the cheese. I'm a fan of the cheesiness. I'm a fan of, like, it's so ridiculous. It's funny. And like that to me was so funny. But I also feel like the use of music, like, that's a psychology thing. That's I'm gonna use this music to set the tone. So even
Oh, yeah,
if the
definitely.
police officers or like the lines or whatever's happening is just pure stupidity, and you're just like, wow, this was a choice. The music still stands true and it does what it's supposed to do. Like I heard those clown
the
honking
music-
noises, I knew
the-
what it was instantly. It was
Yeah.
just clear picture of who these two men were.
Yeah, the music proves that it was a choice.
Right. It was definitely
yeah.
choice.
Right.
What's
Right.
funny is we've watched Scream, right?
Mhm.
What the director was trying to convey with those cops is successfully done by Wes Craven with the Dewey character, Deputy Dewey. They never have to tell you with clown music.
Right.
You know he's a clown by his delivery, his demeanor,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
his ability to deliver a cheesy ass line with a straight face.
Yeah. So
Like that was
good acting.
that was done well. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was that was kind of like okay.
Yeah, see, I have said this before. A lot of times when writers put in lines that are just obvious things, and it annoys me. And I'm like, I'm not stupid. I know what's going on.
Right.
I don't need to be spoon fed the situation
Yeah.
here.
Mhm.
Like I understand, and that's kind of how I felt about the music.
That's
Yes.
kind of
Yeah.
like an insight into how you two watch movies, though, because Meg is just
Yeah.
like, I appreciate how silly this is, and you're like, I
Yes.
don't need this. I'm too
You're
smart.
like, I'm not a baby.
And I'm sitting there going, it was done better in Scream. Like I'm such an asshole.
What I think is funny
I'm like-
is, and
like-
Meg wouldn't know this because she didn't watch part 4 last week, but Halloween 4 has a ton of like competent police work
Yes.
up against an unstoppable force, and he massacres like all the cops. And so you're like, hey, they hired a bunch of new guys, and they're doop.
Terrible.
Like I don't know.
Yeah,
It's-
like in 4, we've already proven that Mike can take care of a competent police force.
Mhm.
That the cops don't need to be Barney Fife.
Right.
No.
You know, they can be competent cops and still get slaughtered by Michael Myers.
Yes.
100%.
Especially with the unknown man in black.
Especially, yes.
Hmm.
Why didn't we ever think of a chain or a net made of chains
Mm.
before?
A net made of chains.
And why did
It's
he
so
use
simple.
a dart gun
Yeah.
instead of a real gun? And he's
Well,
screaming.
he already knew the
die.
real
Wanna kill
gun
him.
didn't work, so maybe the dart gun would work instead.
Guys, did you
Clearly-
notice that a revolver went off
Like
10
times,
times in a
yeah.
row in this movie?
I tried not to focus on things like that too
Yeah.
much.
The cop upstairs
What-
like,
yeah.
fired into the door.
I
like,
wonder
19
I wonder
times.
if they did that on purpose, because this is something Meg doesn't know, but in the first movie, right?
First movie.
in the
This
first
is in the second
movie,
movie, actually.
um,
Second.
Was it the second movie? That's why
he
I wanted.
hasn't even said it. You're already correcting him on
No,
what
it's
movie
okay.
it
He
is.
knows exactly what
is
I'm going to
this?
say. It's I thought it might be an homage to
Right.
in the second movie, Loomis's 6-shooter goes off 7 times.
Right.
Like they edited it
Oh.
incorrectly. His
There's an extra shot
There-
in a
yeah.
revolver. He has a 6-bullet.
he has as a
chambered
revolver, it goes off 7 times. And it's like iconic that like
because he
it's a-
spends
it's
2
a
movies
hu-
saying, "I shot him 6 times."
Exactly.
We're like, no, you
It's a-
shot him 7 times.
it's a huge
No.
mistake. And I thought maybe this director was homaging that
Hmm.
by making it shoot 7 times,
director
and then he
didn't
shot
just-
3 more times. And I'm like, is this satire?
Yeah. I got news for you. This director never saw Halloween.
Oh man, what was
Never-
his name again?
God.
He's some Swiss dude. I don't have his name in front of me.
Is it Dominique? Dominique something.
Who is the other
I
guy
wrote it down.
that you said?
Gerard.
Mustafa
Dominique-
something or other.
That's a cod. He's like the guy who owns Michael Myers.
Oh,
Yeah, he
he-
produces them all until he got
produces every one of them.
murdered in a terrorist attack or something horrible.
Yeah. But his family still owns the character,
Copy
as far as I
that.
know.
Copy that.
What's funny is I have that in my what the fuck moments, the clown music.
It was so good.
I wrote down cops, clowns? Question mark. And that was it.
Did you catch
No.
the other clown noise that happened later?
Is it when they were on screen again, or did it happen with a different cop?
Yes, it was the same group. It's
God.
whenever they dress up as Mike Myers and they start screaming in front of the cops, and they're like,
Mhm.
stop, don't do anything. And then they like pull off the mask, and then they're all just having fun and joking. And one of them says, "Hey, you guys, someone could have died." And then one of them said, "Yeah, good thing we are such lousy cops." And then it goes like, "Quack, quack."
Oh my God.
I was cackling. Oh, it was just so funny.
The one cop moment with those two, because those two cops were like really the worst of the bunch, right?
They remind me of the cops from The Mask, where they do the same thing. with
Yeah.
music.
So
Yeah.
those two, there was one moment that actually really made me laugh, and it was after the moment we just talked about, when the actual Mike Myers is coming out
Yes.
of the
Mhm.
barn.
I know exactly
And
what you're gonna say.
He's yelling at him out the side of the car, and he turns to the other cop and he's like, says something like, "Kids these days have no respect," or "I blame the parents," or something that
Right.
he says, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, that cracked me up. I don't know why. I'm just saying, I blame the parents.
I blame the parents.
Blame
Did
the
you
parents.
did you hear the bit after our couple has a roll around in the hay? As you know,
Rollins ahead.
Rollins, yay!
they're rolling around in the hay. As you know, it has to happen in a slasher movie somewhere.
Rollins, yay.
Well, the police are outside, and he was
Mhm.
like, "Man, is that what this sounds like nowadays?" And he was like, "I don't know. This is some freaky stuff right here." They thought the sounds of them getting murdered was them rolling around in
Yes.
the hay.
Well, and they were
Yes.
totally cool with sitting there listening to them bang. Like they're like, "Oh yeah,
Oh
this
yeah.
is great. We're listening to this teenage couple bang at a party.
Teenagers.
There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with this."
Oh my
Oh.
gosh. Just so funny. Is that what this sounds like nowadays? It was just so good.
That's
See,
some
I
1989
live
banging.
for movies like this. Like
Well,
this
see-
brought me so much joy.
This is a perfect Meg movie, it
I'm
turns
happy
out.
then.
But the problem
Nice.
is,
Yes.
Meg, that up till this movie, Halloween has been like a deadly serious, almost like
Yeah.
dour franchise. Like there
No.
are no laughs
Yeah.
in Halloween.
No.
None.
And so
So-
for those of us who are watching this movie as a sequel to the last couple movies that we actually
No.
liked, it's just like, wait, what
It's
did they
a
do to our
letdown.
movie?
Oh no. It's like a mockery of something that you have loved.
It's
and-
the Batman Forever of Halloween movies.
Oh no.
No,
Don't
it's
get
the
him
Batman and
started
Robin
on Batman
of Halloween
Forever.
movies.
Oh no.
Batman Forever is way better than this.
Well,
Oh,
that's true.
bold
Yeah.
claims.
Can we go back to the roll in the hay scene?
Always.
Because after the pitchfork comes through the young man, my first thought was,
Kevin Bacon.
no, that was my second thought.
Okay.
My first thought was, I bet he's glad he used protection. And then my
Wow.
second thought was, Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon.
Well, and the Friday 2's shish
Interesting.
kebab kill
Yes.
came to mind too. Really interesting that by 89 we're doing like the condom bit in movies. Like AIDS has really hit mainstream now, so everybody's wearing condoms.
It's all the rage these days.
It's the thing. It
The
becomes
way
like a
you
focal
said
point.
it, there's just everybody's,
Thank-
just everybody's doing it. It's like,
Once you see Jason Goes to Hell, which comes out a couple of years after this, and the whole bit that circles around protection and condoms, you'll be like, "Oh, this is what Dan was talking about."
Well, the whole movie is basically an STD.
wow.
I mean, Jason is an STD in that movie.
That's true.
He's just getting passed around. through
Wow.
Was that the
juices.
black goo one?
Huh?
That was
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
black
it's the
goo
black
one?
goo
Yeah.
one, yeah.
Gosh.
No, when I was talking about black goo earlier, Meg, that was an actual movie. I wasn't just making that shit up.
So like,
That was a
Yeah.
movie
is it
that they made me
called-
watch.
Is it called Black Goo?
No, it's a movie George wished for, and
No,
he got it.
well,
instead.
kind
Yeah,
of.
George spent like eight reviews in a row being like, "You know what I would do," and then
Yeah.
he saw a movie that did exactly what he said, and he was just like, "Never mind."
This is terrible.
Oh,
Never
goodness.
mind, I hate it.
Awful.
See, that's what happens when you meet your heroes. You're like, yes, this brilliant
Yeah.
idea I had, and you see it in action. You're like, man,
That
thought
was an example
brilliant.
of just me getting what I wished for.
Yes.
Oh,
And then
You know?
they tell you, that came
let
later.
down. So sorry you had to go through that. We're here for you, man. It's okay.
I'm here for you.
Life gets
Thank you.
better.
So at
All
one
right.
point, Michael is going full Jason in a barn with a pitchfork. Like, we've totally lost
Yeah.
track of what franchise we're watching. And Dr. Loomis disappears for a good, 40 minutes straight of this movie.
Mm.
So where, I almost worried that they, forgot to write in an ending for him.
No, he got
He
the
got an ending.
He got, it wasn't a happy ending.
It was not. He got an ending. I love that he gets, brutally injured and just is gone. We don't know. And then he's up, he's chilling. He kidnaps a little girl, uses her as bait. And I'm like, my dude, we thought you were dead. What are you doing? Like,
It saddens me that this is the Dr. Loomis that you know.
it is. It's the only
Actually-
one I know.
Actually,
This is
it
not.
saddens me, and I know that this is for science,
Yes.
but it saddens me in general that anyone has to
Has
come to
sit
this
through
first.
Yes. But I mean, just what they did,
Because here's the thing, Meg, Halloween, the first one, is so good.
yes.
It is. It's not even like a good slasher movie.
And this makes Halloween
It's a
2 look like
good-
The Godfather.
yeah, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
But see, the nice thing about this, I'll give you, a light at the end of the tunnel here. Me having seen this first means that when I go back and I watch that first one, I am going to appreciate it like 8,000 times more.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing
Mm.
this movie and then seeing that original, which is a classic. I mean, it's beloved by so many people, and it's a cult classic. Like, it's there. Everybody loves it. They grew up with it, and it's a big part of their childhood. And seeing this first definitely is not that same magical experience. But I know I'm gonna appreciate the heck out of that first one after seeing this.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I sat there, I'm thinking, Dr. Loomis grabbing her out of her bed and yelling at her.
Right?
I was just like, this is
That's not
right. It's not, to me. Did everybody here see the Star Wars sequels?
Yes.
Okay.
sequels.
The Rian Johnson sequel, which is The Last Jedi,
Okay.
got so much hate because the disservice that he did to Luke Skywalker. Like, people wanted that movie wiped away. That's what this movie is to Halloween fans. Like, what they did to
For
Dr.
Dr. Loomis.
Loomis and Jamie
Yeah.
and Michael. Like,
yeah.
they basically said, like, I remember referencing it last week with part 4. I was like, oh, this is like what if J.J. Abrams was able to make a Halloween movie, he would just remake the original but add some things.
Yeah.
That's what he did with the rise of the first sequel, Star Wars. This one basically crapped on every fan. Killed 2 characters, destroyed Luke Skywalker. Like, it was just like, all you fanboys, bite me. That's basically
Spoiler
what that movie
alert.
was.
I mean, come
Yeah.
on.
I didn't give names, but it's been out for like
It was
3
a
or 4
rough
years, I
one.
think.
Yeah,
It was a
you
rough one to
can't-
watch. As
Yeah.
a classic, a fan of the movie, the classic movies. Just that one. It was hard. It's hard to watch.
Yeah. So it was like you wanted a do-over. And I think when people watched this back then, they were like, what the F did I just watch? And what the hell happened to Loomis? And
Mm.
am I ever going to watch another Halloween movie? That's how I felt when I
Now,
saw this.
I actually thought watching Loomis in this movie, I'm surprised that Donald Pleasance didn't quit.
He probably wanted to, but
You're
wanted the
probably
paycheck.
right. And I kind of feel like if you were the actor and you have played this role 4 times before,
Mhm.
and your director is telling you to shake the little kid and yell at her,
Mhm.
Hold her
Yeah.
in
Right?
sacrifice to Michael Myers.
Yeah.
Here,
Yeah.
don't
Hold
hold
her
her
as
as
bait.
Yeah,
She's bait.
don't you as Donald Pleasance say, dude, no.
Do yourself a favor.
No, to the point where I'm not going to do it.
Right.
So choose another character to do it, or choose another Loomis. I'm out.
Do yourself a favor and go to YouTube and find some interviews with Mark Hamill about The Last Jedi.
Love Mark.
Okay.
Hamill.
And it's basically what you're talking about. Like, he sits on that stage and basically says, F Ryan Johnson for what he did
Yeah.
to my character that I played for 35 years. Like,
Yeah.
So
and Pleasance didn't have a chance to do that. And I don't think he would have done that. But I think he was just kind of like a okay, you do you kind of thing. But I'm sure it killed him.
Yeah. It had to have. No, it literally did. Donald Pleasance actually died IRL at the end. Yeah, just kidding.
So in watching, like, you were talking about how, like, you know, so it kills the series. Like, talking about how, like, you wonder if you're ever gonna watch it again. Did you all watch Game of Thrones?
I did not.
Okay.
Most of it.
So, like,
No.
I mean, the
Big
Star
fat
Wars
no.
metaphor would that pretty much covers it. But
Mhm.
the last season of Game of Thrones, because I loved the show, it was so good, very cinematic for TV. I mean, unheard of. Like, it was so big, so beautiful.
Is that HBO?
Yes.
Game of Thrones? Okay.
Yes.
I like HBO.
It was a good one. And then that last season, it literally destroyed
Yep.
these storylines that they had been working on for years.
Well, they ran
Years
out of
and
source
years,
material.
just completely threw it out the window and said, forget that. Forget character development. Forget anything we've been leading up to. We're just gonna, like, throw it in the fire and start over. And since seeing that, I haven't even gone back to the show, and that was one of my favorites. And so I could see that, like, if you grew up with this franchise, it was near and dear to you, and then they just, like, threw something out of left field, how that could, like, kind of, like, you know,
And they just
ruin
brought us back to it. That was
You-
the thing.
you
Part
know-
4 was the return
Oh, okay.
Right.
of it.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh wait, what the? What?
I'm gonna give you a show, Meg. You may have seen it, or you may not have.
Community.
Oh,
But
dear.
there is a show that doesn't do what you just complained about.
Okay.
It's a complete story. It's every episode is
Here
perfection
it comes.
in writing.
I think he
um,
gets paid for this.
Each
Okay.
He
each season
must.
Sponsored
is
by.
each season is a capsule,
Yes.
and together it is a I don't know
It's
what
a
you would call
plethora
it.
of greatness.
But from start to finish, you know, all the I's get dotted and all the bows get tied, and in a way that makes you so satisfied. And the show is called Community.
Shut up. I love Community.
There you go.
There you go.
I
That
love
man-
Community.
Dan Harmon is my favorite writer, I think, ever.
Oh, that's
in
amazing.
books, television, movies. Dan Harmon.
Oh, that
You know what's-
show was very fun, very creative. Lots of nuggets there for sure. Just it was
Absolutely.
very funny. I loved it. So I do have a question for you, experts for this movie franchise. In one of the final scenes, when Jamie gets to the attic and sees the shrine, sees the coffin, with her picture, R.I.P. Max, greaser guy in love with
stuffed
his
Max.
car. I was not too sad about.
Right.
His name was also Mike, which I thought was
Yes.
interesting.
I referred to him in my mind as Grease
Grease.
Lightning.
Yeah, I wrote Greaser. That was his name before I knew his name. Bunny
Grease
trailing
Lightning.
off of that. Whenever after Michael kills our greaser friend, he gets in the car, and then Tina calls him by name and
Yes.
says,
Yeah.
Mikey, let me in the car. And I was like, oh,
Mm.
she literally called him by his name. She should not be asking that. Like, it was funny to
Mm.
me because it was actually his name, which I thought was just, I don't know
Well,
why.
what's cool about
It's brought me
the
joy.
character of Michael Myers that you
Mhm.
don't know yet
Yeah.
is he's a child. In his brain, he's a child.
Okay.
So throughout the series, when you hear his name
how
said,
old was he? 11?
he was 8 or 11. 11?
How I don't
8.
know. I'm asking.
I think he was 8 when
He was
killed-
8.
Yes,
He was 8 when he went away, and he was how old when he
23.
escaped? Okay.
Yeah.
So he's been
He's been stuck at 8.
and yes,
in
he's
the body
been
of an
he's
adult.
been institutionalized since 8 years old, and then he gets out. And I think Dan actually had some
Psychology,
research to
yes.
back this up, that if you get institutionalized as a child, you don't develop into an adult properly.
Well, your socio-emotional needs may or may not have been met. I mean,
So the killer, Michael Myers, is, like Travis said, kind of
Playful.
still a child and doesn't understand a lot of what's going on.
Like
in the
that's why
world
he
around
like
him.
poses bodies in like
Okay.
in scenes. It's almost like he's decorating. Like there's certain things about Michael Myers that aren't in the other slasher films.
okay.
He has almost like a theatrical way he deals with things. Like he
Yes.
portrays characters. He does things that
Mhm.
so that scene where she calls him Mikey or Mike,
Uh-huh.
and then he's like side-eyeing her with
Right.
that
Yeah.
gangster mask on, and it's like, okay, that's not the Myers mask,
Yeah.
but it's funny how he's like side-eyeing her, and he's like, you're like almost thinking for him. You can't see anything he's doing, but because you know, and you don't know Michael, but
Yeah.
you will,
Mhm.
and then you'll be able to appreciate that scene a little bit better. Like I think Tina annoys me a bit, but that scene I liked
Yeah,
because she
I
was kind of
love
subdued.
Tina.
No, she was
I loved
fun.
her
She
so
was fun,
much.
but she ate up the screen.
See, like
She was
I don't know any of the characters, so like
I like Rachel more.
I
and they killed her off,
understand
yeah.
like when you are in a franchise and you've seen these characters movie after movie, whenever they add so much screen time to the new characters, you're like, okay, that's great. I want to see these people that I've been watching for years. I want to see what happens to them.
You're invested. It's an
Yeah.
investment of time.
And see, like, I'm not invested. So I could appreciate Tina for what she was. Because she wasn't in the other movies, was she?
No. She's kind of an
Uh,
embodiment of the characters from the original.
Okay.
She's kind of like a mix of a bunch of them
What
in
was
one person.
What was the little girl's name in the very first movie that jails?
Lindsay.
Lindsay?
Her friend Lindsay in part 4 is not Tina. Tina's a new addition.
Okay.
Okay.
I feel like you were talking about how Michael developmentally behaves more like a child because, he didn't.
In some ways, yeah.
Yeah, in some ways he does. It's funny you say that because in this scene where he's in the car with her and she's like, "Ugh, why are you mad at me this time? Like, you need to quit driving like this. Like, I literally just need cigarettes. Let me get out of the car, pull over." And she's just yelling at him. He almost acts like, when you're acting up in the grocery store and your mom looks at you. She's like,
Yeah.
"You better stop it, or you are gonna get it when we get in our car."
Yeah.
Like,
The clenched teeth.
yeah, it's
That happened last week.
the wide eyes, the eyebrows raised, and like the look of "you best stop it." Like that's how I felt. Like Tina was like yelling at him and was like, "You better pull over right now, mister." And he was like, "Okay. Yep.
And he's
Yes,
sitting there going,
Mom.
I'm trying to play a
All
character.
right, okay."
And
Like he just pulls over. Like he doesn't know what to do with it because like she's very strong in her presentation.
He's driving, but she's saying, "I'm going to stop this car right
Yes.
Hmm.
You pull over right now. Like she's very much in control, and I thought that was a funny moment where he was almost childlike, like being chastised, and he was just like, "Okay, Mom," and just like went along with it.
I can guarantee you this director did that by accident."
Although it's an accidental homage to Linda in the
Linda.
original.
Okay.
Remind me who Linda is.
Linda's, "Go get me a beer."
Oh.
Because she does the whole,
Yeah.
chastising her boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Yeah.
So even if it was an accidental homage, it was still there.
Well,
So
it was
and you
definitely
appreciated
written
it.
in tribute to that scene, I'd say.
Yes.
And then, God, the Keystone Cops that like surround her and ignore Michael Myers wearing the mask in the car behind them.
Right.
Oh my God, this movie. Ugh.
Yeah. There were a lot of loopholes.
I love how see one of the things that Michael Myers does on a regular basis is disappear like a ninja.
Of course.
You know, like
Yeah.
he's there and then he's not.
Yes.
And it almost makes you think, was he ever there in the first place?
Right.
Right? That's one of the things he does. Never in a car,
Mm-mm.
especially not one that is that
Noisy.
flashy, noisy. Yes.
Right.
Now, I don't know. When that happened, it was such a fail to me.
You know what it stems from? And you
What?
can tell from the earlier stuff when he's following Rachel and following Tina. The director doesn't understand Michael Myers.
No.
He doesn't understand the shape, the boogeyman, the
Yep.
man in the shadows, the hand under the bed. He doesn't understand the man in the closet. That's what the shape is. That's what Michael Myers is. He's the boogeyman. So when you watch in the original movies, he's standing right there and you don't even know it
Yeah.
until he lets you see him.
Yes. And
In-
as Dan said last week, that Michael Myers is scariest
When he's not moving.
when he's not moving.
Right. But I mean, there's times, and it's filmed this way, there's times in the original where you've watched 5 minutes of a scene and he's standing right there.
That's good.
And you don't know it until you see him. So this movie is missing that. There's scenes where he's following them around. You see his legs at the bottom of a bush.
That's a
There's
total.
just 2 legs. There's no white face in the
Yeah.
the
The
foliage.
branch aggressively waving at someone. So subtle.
Yeah, that's how Earl got shot
Yeah,
in the fourth
that's
movie.
I was
very
gonna-
dangerous.
There's a whole backstory to that.
But I mean,
too.
there's a couple scenes in the original where it's just quick little shots of him standing in the tree, like in the bushes or near the laundry or whatever, and he's looking up. Like there's just certain things that are missing.
He's
from,
watching you.
You're being watched by the shadows.
Yeah.
And in this, and it's broad daylight,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
it's still the shadows watching you. This movie, it was more like, okay, I see your feet.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm sitting there going. We could see. I think it's the Scary Movie where they show the killer behind the curtain and the curtain's moving. You can see his giant work boots behind the.
Yeah. It's like,
Like,
playing
that's what it
hide
looked
and
like to
seek
me.
with a toddler
Yes.
who covers their eyes and says, "I can't. You can't see me. I can't see you."
Right.
Yeah. It.
But they try to do it the old way where he's like in the house and Rachel's walking in and out of every room and he's kind of you see his reflection in the mirror or whatever. But when he's coming into the closet, he's just not moving right. And that happened the whole movie where it just takes you out. Almost like the clown music with the cops. Like
Yeah.
it just takes you out because he's Michael Myers. He's not Jason Voorhees. Like he's not lumbering. He's supposed to be the shape. He's supposed to be
Oh.
blending. He's supposed to be almost like a chameleon,
See,
and that's missing.
yeah, I didn't get that at all. Like, I believe they call him the Shape once in this movie, but none of his movement was like suspenseful or graceful.
Right.
Anything like what you're describing is definitely not what I saw. Like, none of his like moments where he was like hiding really caught me by surprise. Like,
Right.
that was definitely not shown here.
Because Carpenter plays on that whole thing. Like when you're a kid, I got to turn the light off in my bedroom. I got to get from the light switch to my bed
Yeah.
without whatever it is under my bed grabbing my feet. Or I
still
got
do
to,
that.
I got to walk past my closet that I just saw the door move. That's Michael Myers. And if it's not, doesn't feel like a haunted house, then it's not right. And that's what's missing in a lot of these Halloween movies.
Yeah.
So in the attic, circling back to where I was going to go and got distracted, I noticed a few items and I wanted to ask about them because I felt like they were odd choices to put in an attic.
Mhm.
Like flame.
I'll
flame,
try. I'll
open
try to
flame.
explain them to you.
Yeah, I mean, clearly the dead bodies were there. Meh, that's pretty standard for an attic. So I don't have questions on those.
Right.
I
Right.
saw the bathtub, which I'm assuming was the bathtub that was it the stepmom that she killed? I believe, or mom.
know.
I suppose.
It was
It's a different house.
okay.
So.
Well, there was a bathtub in the attic where he had his he had like all of the things, like it was like an altar and there was
Yeah.
the bathtub there, and I thought it looked like that same bathtub There
Was it like a clawfoot?
Yeah, it was. There was a really odd coffin, which I didn't know if there was some symbolism in the way that coffin looked.
No,
But something
not at all.
weird that I noticed was ice skates
Hmm.
hanging from the ceiling, and
I have ice
That's
skates
an
in my-
homage to a kill in Jason.
Actually, there's a kill in Halloween
7.
H2O.
Yeah.
Part 7?
Seven.
Yeah,
H2O?
H2O. But that's later.
Wasn't
that
there?
happens
That's
after.
There was a
later.
hockey. There was a hockey skate kill in a Jason movie at some point, wasn't there?
No.
maybe
I
it
don't
was
think so.
foreshadowing.
What the hell am I thinking of?
It's the way Gordon Levitt dies in the later movies.
Wow. Again, spoiler alert. Come on.
Yeah, you won't watch it. After watching this, you're not gonna watch that.
I don't know. I
What, am I,
might.
what kill am I thinking of?
Huh?
What kill am I thinking of?
I don't know. Is there an ice skate kill
There's
in any Jason
definitely a
movie?
hockey skate kill. Not maybe
Well,
not
the
in a
guy's
Jason
wearing a hockey
movie.
mask.
It's in
No.
Halloween H2O. It's in like the first 10 minutes,
Yeah.
It's an H2O. Okay.
Yeah. which happens, 7 years after this movie.
Okay.
Okay.
Never. Yeah. All right.
I just didn't know. I thought
Foreshadowing.
ice skates were odd, but the bathtub,
Yeah,
I definitely
It's foreshadowing by
recognized.
accident.
Well, the bathtub being in the attic wasn't strange because I know in the older houses they
You
they
should see
have-
Travis's attic.
you have a bathtub in
What?
your attic, Travis?
No, just a bunch
it's-
of bodies.
The house is an old Victorian house, and it's got 3 levels, so there might be a bathtub on the 3rd level. I've seen many houses in like Merchantville, Haddonfield area that have that in their attics.
In like
Okay.
the
I had a-
storage space, though. See, like that was what was sketchy to me. Like it's not
It
a
could have
floor.
been-
It's a
You know what I'm
storage
thinking?
attic.
How did the bathtub get up there?
It might have been
Those things are heavy as
put
shit.
there when they built the house.
I mean, Michael.
I don't know. There was a kitchen in my basement when I bought my house because the Italians that lived there before, they like to cook in the basement because it's cooler.
Heck yeah. I
Not
mean,
cooler like cool, but actually
it was
not
cool
hot.
and cool. Cool on all
Cool and
levels.
cool.
But like Michael got shot
Okay,
roughly
just because-
10,000 times, so he could
Yeah.
clearly carry a bathtub up 3 flights of
Yeah.
stairs. Like this man is.
All I'm
invincible.
saying,
I just want to know how he lit the candles.
all I'm saying is that
That too.
like, because you said like maybe it was there since they built the house. I build houses, and the tubs are just as heavy when you're building the house as they
yeah,
are.
but they could crane it in before they put the roof on if they want.
I mean,
I'm just saying.
Just crane it in.
I
Just
think you
crane it
give
in.
these construction contractors way more credit than they deserve.
Well, that's
Nobody
today.
plans that far ahead.
We're talking 100 years ago. I don't know. They definitely do it.
Oh wait, before you put that roof on,
We're
we
not
gotta-
talking about
we
the
gotta get a
Pasadena
crane
walls
in
here.
here.
I mean,
and
have
put
y'all
a
seen the
bathtub in
pyramids? Okay, those were built
Yeah, right?
way before the 80s, and they got them
They're
up.
like the 1780s, aren't they?
You know what? You know
Just
what?
saying.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
I sit corrected.
Yeah,
Hey,
they put
guys-
sarcophaguses on the 3rd floor all the time.
Everybody who built the pyramids had that tattoo on their arm that was a triangle with a
did.
line
Ooh,
behind it.
Super power tattoo.
Mm.
Oh,
Now, the coffin thing bothered
Yeah.
me because they didn't pay that off. Like, in every Halloween movie, they pay off the grave rob. Like,
Is this a
you
common
know
theme?
where that... Well, it's just his theatrics. Like, the stuff that he does, posing the bodies and whatever. If there's
Yeah,
a
I mean-
coffin in the attic, at some point in that movie, you find out where that coffin came from.
So they do say that there was a grave where they took the body of a 9-year-old girl, which Dr. Lumen aggressively screams in Jamie's face.
Yeah.
As most doctors, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
As a perfectly normal thing to do to
Why
a
are you
9-year-old
protecting
child.
him?
Good
As any
grief.
good doctor would.
Yeah, yeah. But
Man.
they mention that, and I was like,
Oh, they do mention the... Okay.
but that's it. They don't do anything with the fact that he just like stole a body. Like it's not anywhere else, which he arranged even the dog in the attic.
Mm.
But like, where's this 9-year-old girl? Like, where did it go? Did he just take her coffin? Like, I don't understand.
Well, the dog was kind of a shocker because they never really mentioned that the
Oh,
dog
that
was
one was
killed.
Yeah,
sad.
you know what they normally do in these kind of movies is Michael does kill the animal.
Yeah,
Like
every movie.
in every movie,
Yeah.
there's a German Shepherd.
Then you hear
Yeah.
like the like yelp and then nothing.
Yeah.
Exactly,
mhm.
exactly. Yes, you could have directed a better movie. Yes,
Sweet.
that's what happens. So, yeah, they never kill the dog.
in this movie.
until the end when you see the dog and she's
Right.
like, Max.
Max.
And
And he's stuffed. He's clearly a stuffed animal.
Oh yeah.
It's
That's not.
They got that thing
not
at
good
Toys R
effects there.
Us. Like
so
yeah,
bad.
that was the Toys R Us
yeah,
clearance.
but he never like poses an animal. You know,
No.
he just
Usually he eats it.
usually the animal is an obstacle to get to whoever he needs to kill.
Yes.
yes.
And so he does the dog
Right.
and then does what he needs to do
Well,
to whoever's
it's
in
an
the house.
Alberto Lindsay thing.
I'm sure it probably is.
Or is it Umberto?
Umberto.
Lindsay. Umberto Lindsay thing where the animal is in the room with the half-naked chick. Not in this movie, though.
What are you
I don't know. I'm talking about all the
I'm following.
Italian movies.
Listen, I didn't sign up to watch that kind of movie. So
Dan and I are on the same page. We're
Yeah,
on the
I know what
Italian
you're referring
horror
to.
film
Yeah.
thing, yeah.
I'm on a
Half
different
naked
page.
lady, a lot of dead animals. I got
like
you.
my
Yes.
page. My page is nice.
George is thinking, I just want it to be Nicolas Cage dead. That's all he wants. He just wants a dead Nicolas
Ooh.
Cage in a Halloween movie.
If there was a stuffed Nicolas Cage head in that attic,
Or Wolf.
Wow.
Is it Kapa'a or Kapa'a?
I hate Nicolas Cage so
He
much.
hates
I hate you a little bit when you do his
when I
voice.
bring up Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
Hilariously, Shop Factory redid the covers for all these movies last year when they put out 1 through 5.
Huh.
And the cover for Halloween 5, there were complaints that it looked too much like Nicolas Cage's face.
What, the mask?
Yeah, I sent a picture of it to the group chat so you guys can see
Can
the
we-
mask.
Can we talk
That's
about the mask?
fantastic.
Because it's the worst mask I've seen.
Wait,
It
the
was
mask?
worse than the last one
Yeah.
somehow.
Oh my god, it does look like Nicolas Cage.
All right. Hold on. I can't see
I
it.
don't have my cell phone, so you got to flip the
Oh
phone. to me.
wow.
And it's got
Nick
a big ass
Cage,
leaf.
what
too.
in the National Treasure is going on here? Why? He's supposed to hold the Declaration of Independence or something, not this scythe. I don't know what's going on.
It does look just like him.
So
Cut the
funny.
chit chat, a-hole.
I mean, you talked about Community earlier. I don't know if you
Wow.
remember this episode, but they do.
I
an
absolutely do.
episode
I'm a
on-
sexy cat.
Yes, on Nicolas Cage, and it's very funny.
Nicolas Cage, good actor or bad actor? That's the name of
See,
the
no
class.
one,
I
no
think.
one can answer that. Literally, only
I think
a
it's an
supernatural
answer that-
being can answer
that-
that.
It's an answer that Abed attempts to
He's-
answer.
Or Abed.
I'm gonna shatter the world and say he's a good actor.
Oh.
He's
You need
making
to watch-
choice. He's making choices.
You need to watch
Oh,
this episode of
claims.
Community. It
Yes.
might change your mind.
Very funny.
I'm not saying he's winning Oscars, but he could. He just makes bold choices.
Yeah, he does. He commits, and sometimes
Commits.
committing to the bit that's all you need.
It's paid the bills for a long time. Because you wouldn't go see Nicolas Cage if he wasn't Nicolas Cage. You wouldn't see a movie with him and pay him a lot of money if he wasn't Nicolas Cage.
Listen, he is Nicolas Cage, and I still don't pay money to see movies he's in. So
Okay.
Except for when we make you.
You have a couple more coming.
sometimes they trick me and don't tell me Nicolas Cage is in the movie.
Brilliant.
Look, he's flipping burgers in Fast Times. Nicholas Coppola. at
Nick
the time.
Coppola.
Nick Coppola.
Dude, when they because he changed his name. His name is actually Coppola.
Oh, I did not know that.
And when we watched Fast Times, spoiler alert, he's in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. They said, did you see Nick Coppola? Did you recognize Nick? And I'm like, who the fuck are you talking about? And
He's
I'm
like, I'll never watch
and
a
I'm like,
Nicolas
oh my
Cage
god,
movie.
I forgot it changed his name.
Son of a
But here's
bitch.
the thing: in that movie, he's like, you see him for like 2
got
seconds
no
at
lines.
a time, and he has no lines, and
Yeah.
he's kind of like in the background. I'm like, and I'm watching it like, is that Nick Cage? I'm like, oh well, and you just
But
keep
that's how you
watching
like
the
'em.
movie.
Silent and in the background.
You know what? That might be my favorite. That is my favorite
That's
Nick
your
Cage
favorite
movie.
Nicolas Cage.
I'm not kidding.
Ay vey.
Because even though you see his stupid face, he doesn't talk. So it's a
At the
win.
end of our last episode, George, we asked you, where do we go from here? And you suggested that the next movie would be 15 years in the future as they transferred Jamie from one prison to another and she escaped.
That wasn't a bad guess, though.
Mm-mm.
And really, aside
Wow.
from the fact that it was only 1 year later, you pretty much nailed it. So,
I mean,
points
yeah.
to George.
True.
I mean, you weren't too far off.
True.
She was it was a children's hospital, but it was 100% definitely filmed in a house. Like
Yeah,
was a
it was like a
house.
frat. It was like a frat
I mean,
house.
I was picturing when I said that, I was picturing Jamie obviously being
Grown up.
15 years older and actually menacing people
Hmm.
as Jamie Myers.
Yeah.
That'll be the
But
Rob Zombie remake.
I'm here for it.
Hey, so let me ask you guys, Meg and George. I don't care who goes first. Where do we go
Yeah.
from here?
Ladies first.
Where
Like
do
this
we
movie
go?
ends. Now the next sequel. Where does the story go?
Okay, so remind me of the last scene. So what happens is they say, "Oh, okay, I remember." They say, "Wait in the car." Steel Toes comes in. He explodes everything, as you know we all do. When we walk into dramatically in the night.
Mm-hmm.
And he said they'd say, "Wait in the car," and then she just immediately follows them in, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
She never does what they tell her to
Listen.
do.
It's like Carl from
I
Walking
was
Dead.
Never.
just about to say that. Like, Jamie, stay in the house. What is going on here? And she just walks herself into these situations. So she goes in. Carl.
Stay in the house.
Carl.
Where's Carl?
Carl.
Jamie.
Such a good bit. Such a
Jamie Carl.
Can you do the Jamie in the Carl voice?
Jamie. No, you
You can't do it.
You can only do Carl.
Carl is such a distinct sound. Like, you can't do it with any other name. It's perfect.
What's at the bottom of the ocean? Carl.
You have to say it in the back of your mouth. Carl.
Yeah, so anyways.
So, anyways, my guess, after she goes in the prison, she sees that he's gone and she's just crying and the place is on fire. I don't know where it could go from here. I'm guessing she's going to be like a teenager. Like it's going to be years later and she's going to have like some boyfriend probably named Jason, and she's still gonna be having nightmares, but like she's definitely thriving. Oh no, it's gonna be Billy. It's gonna be Billy, the cute little boy with the stutter, the stammer.
I agree.
I think she's gonna
agree.
be with Billy, and they're gonna be madly in love. And one day she's just gonna like start getting these nightmares again. She's like, Billy, I know he's out there. And he's like, no, JB, it's fine. He's not gonna hurt you anymore. I'm here. And then he's gonna come back and start killing everybody again. And then she's gonna have to save everyone, but she's gonna be like a teenager, and like her magic psychic abilities are gonna like kick in,
It's
and
a Jason movie.
she's gonna like take, instead of
Part seven.
Michael having control of her, which they do at first, and then they just abandon that whole concept. I don't know where that went.
Mm-hmm.
She's gonna then Uno reverse card, and she's gonna control Michael.
That's the key.
And that's
the key.
That's what's gonna happen. Sweeping
I like your
declaration.
pitch.
Thank you.
This is an elevator pitch.
The only thing that I would change is that her boyfriend, who was, who escaped being killed by Michael Myers
Yes.
in this movie, would take her seriously, and the two of them would be on the same team, and maybe the authorities would be calming them down while everything was happening.
Like that.
That's the only thing I would change. So the question was, where does this franchise go next? My answer is hopefully into the hands of a different director.
Wow.
Well, that we can give you for sure. Indeed,
It
there
ends
is
up
a
in
new
space.
new director. No space. No
No space. It's the final frontier.
That it is.
I don't know.
Can I take a shot at this?
No, you can't, because you know where it goes. Hey, so let me tell you a couple of things as we prepare for next week. We're going to watch the next Halloween, George. This one took until 1995 to come out. So Jason Goes to Hell comes out in the interim. The difference between 4 and 5 was less than a year. So they took their time. They realized the error of their ways, and they put 6 years of development into what becomes known as the Curse of Michael Myers. Now,
Hey.
Okay.
there are two cuts of the Curse of
Yes.
Michael Myers. There's the theatrical cut and there is the producer's cut. Now, when I was a kid, the producer's cut was something you could find on like a 5th generation VHS at a
VHS.
Comic-Con.
Yep.
And now they've
And
got a
I
4K
own one.
Blu-ray of the producer's cut coming out in like the
Nice.
next month, which is insanity. But it gives us
Huh.
a unique opportunity. We can pick which of the two. We're not going to make you watch both. I hope. God, don't make us watch both. So, Travis, do you want to watch the producer's cut or do you want to watch the
I've never seen the producer's
theatrical?
cut.
Oh, really?
So I've seen the theatrical. I know the difference between the two. So maybe you and I can. Basically, the producer's cut. Have you seen it?
Oh, yeah. No, I've
Okay.
yeah.
So it's basically, do you want him to learn more backstory or not so much backstory? That's all.
Yeah. Do you want a more cohesive movie or do you not want as cohesive a movie?
I'd prefer a more cohesive movie, but I'm weighing the time it takes to make a cohesive movie, and if it's a bad movie that is cohesive, maybe I don't want to spend the extra time. But I'm gonna just go with the cohesive one.
Okay, producer's cut. We're watching the Halloween 6 producer's cut. It's available on streaming everywhere, on Vudu
Is this the
and all
one
those
with
things.
Seth Rogen?
Now
I can't do that laugh, but
I can't either. I won't even try.
So now, serious question. This is number 6,
number 6.
Yes.
right? And then number 7 is
We've already watched.
H2O, right?
H2O, yep.
And then what comes after that?
Resurrection,
which you
was
watched.
the one with Busta Rhymes.
Busta Rhymes.
Okay.
Surprise, motherfucker.
That was a good one.
Which, I mean, let's just take a quick temperature here, George.
A lot better.
Busta Rhymes kicking Michael Myers in the junk is actually a little bit better than the last movie.
That's
I
true.
would say part 5 blows. Like
It's a battle for the bottom between those two. This one and that one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's for
definitely.
sure.
Don't watch
Plus Tyra Banks.
Don't
I mean,
watch Resurrection next, Meg, because there are actually good Halloweens. But there is one where
Yes.
Busta Rhymes, I think he like shocks Michael Myers in the testicles
Yes.
or something. It's
Wow.
ridiculous.
And that's when he says, surprise, motherfucker.
With speaker wire.
That has to hurt.
I think we should do an episode where Meg
Uh.
watches the original,
Mm.
and then we get her take.
I believe our fans deserve it.
I would love to revisit the original Halloween. So
I'd watch it 2 times tonight.
we could do Halloween on Halloween.
Halloween on
Halloween
well,
on
near
Halloween.
Halloween. Can't do it on Halloween.
No,
but
it'd
near
be the
Halloween.
week before. But it'd be still, I think that all works
It would
out.
premiere on Halloween.
Is Halloween a Wednesday?
No, it's a Sunday,
It's
I think.
Sunday.
6.
Because our
Sunday.
episodes usually come out on Wednesday.
Yeah, it'll be Wednesday
what I
the
was asking.
26th.
So it'd be a
Hmm.
couple days prior to Halloween.
But
Like
I
that
should have the
episode was
theater in
going.
place by then. So, Meg, you might get to watch it on a
Hey.
133-inch screen.
Yeah, you have to
Ooh.
watch
Wait,
it.
hold on.
in
How
the
many inches?
aspect ratio.
133 inches.
Wait,
Holy
What?
Jesus. Compensating for anything?
No, I
I've
just
had
like big
bigger.
screens.
Holy crap.
And the room is not big
What's the
enough
matter?
to
You
justify
couldn't
that
afford the
size.
134-inch screen?
It's
Dan?
going to be obscene.
what's-
Dan, that's some real
what's
peasant.
the line from Shrek?
Peasant behavior right there. Only, jeez, come on. My whole house is.
What's
a
the line from
theater
Shrek when
screen.
they see the castle?
it's that.
Is
Like
that
maybe he's compensating for something?
Yeah.
Does say that.
Farquaad.
We should not have been allowed to watch that movie as children. I'm just gonna, put
so
that
good.
out there.
There's so many levels. When the gingerbread man says, "Eat me,"
Nah.
like, wow,
I mean, the bad guy's name is Farquaad.
fuckwad.
Like, that's really funny.
It is really funny. Oh shit.
Okay, well,
Please keep off of the grass, shine your shoes, wipe your face.
My goodness, my brother sang that over and over and over.
Uh,
Oh my god.
So
Well, they
bad.
did in the movie too, didn't they?
it's a good movie.
I want to do that movie.
Better than this one.
Yes.
I want to take a second before George thanks the listeners. I want to thank Meg
Yeah.
for joining us. Tell us a little bit about how people can find your streams and what you do, because I'm old and I don't know what Twitch is.
It's one of them apps.
It's one of those. Did you meet each other on apps? on Ash.
Mozzarella sticks.
I love
On
that.
Napster? Did you meet each other on Napster?
MySpace, it's like MySpace.
MySpace.
Wow.
On the World Wide Web.
Yeah, I won't talk too much about
Wow.
it. I promise I won't, blab on forever. But Twitch is a streaming site where you can stream things like art, or you could do just chatting, or like a lot of us, I play games. So I am pretty much a classic like Nintendo streamer. I'll play anything from Zelda to we just started Dead by Daylight, and I tried my hand at Apex. But essentially, when you come to my streams, it's just kind of like a cozy space, which is what makes tonight even funnier because I had to watch a slasher film. And my streams are very like wholesome, cozy vibes. I kind of want them to feel like if we were chilling on a couch and just playing games together, like I want to create that vibe for people online. But I also have a really, really large Nintendo collection. We're talking like Super
Nice.
Nintendo days that my husband and I share, and I photograph that on Instagram as well. But basically, I just make a lot of gaming content. If you wanted to tune into one of my streams, it's just mini_Megz. That's on twitch.tv. And then on all my other socials, it's just the mini Megz. And it's very important to know that I am a millennial. So Megz has a Z. It's
A
very
Z for our
key-
friends overseas and in
Z.
Canada.
Yeah, it's a very
Z.
key factor there. So yeah, mini Megz with a Z. Very important, branding and such. But yeah, that's where
Now-
you can find me.
Have you played Dead by Daylight much?
I had just started it. I played it for the first time a couple weeks ago. I was trying to be
Because
brave.
there's a Michael Myers killer
Yes.
available for that game.
Yes,
and
there
I don't-
is.
It's not my favorite game, but it is really scary to hear that music and know that the shark is near.
Oh, it's
Hmm.
it's very suspenseful. And it made me appreciate my viewing of Halloween 5 so much more. I had felt that terror, and
You don't have to sell it.
I'm familiar with it now.
Well, you may be coming back to the show sooner than you expected. I can't wait. And thank you for joining us on the Remedial Film Class podcast. We'll be back next week with the producer's cut of Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. Thanks again to Mini Megz. Check her out on Twitch. And check us out at facebook.com/remedialfilmpod. We'll see you next week.
She should Twitch watching the movie.
Well,
Can you do
Can you
that?
do it
I
Can you
can't.
Twitch movies?
You're not allowed to do that. I
no,
don't think you can do it.
unfortunately,
Copyrights.
no. I would get in
Patreon.
trouble for that. But yes,
You can do it on our Patreon.
I'd love to come back. I'd love to watch more movies. As long as your listeners aren't like, hey, get this girl off this podcast. We don't want to hear her anymore.
They've already said
They've
that
already
about
said it about
Travis.
me.
They're like,
so-
ugh, gross.
I need to stop talking. It's
Oh
fine.
my god.
I'm pretty sure that was my mom.
Yeah, and if Bill13 would like to join the show and discuss his criticisms of Travis,
Yes,
it's an open door. Just give us a holler.
I know where you are.
Yikes.
I honestly think it might have been my brother.
That's not
We'll see.
cool, but kind of funny.
No,
George, thank your listeners.
Thanks, listeners.
that's it.
That wasn't very sincere.
Wow.
So perfect.
I
I
don't
like how
feel
he
very
said that, like,
thanked.
Yeah.
well, it's because I'm trying to be more like Michael Myers, and like, like
Not
when
move.
when your mom says, say thank you, and you say thanks, and that's it.
You're like Groot.
No,
That's a
but yeah, I mean, our listeners know that we love and appreciate them, and we remind them every
Except
episode.
for A Bill.
Yeah, A Bill
like
sucks.
A
Fuck
Bill.
that
Wow.
guy.
Fuck that guy.
Wow.
Hey Bill. Fuck you.
But
Now I'll shut up.
yeah, but yes,
Probably my wife.
thanks, listeners. We love you.
I
I know my wife doesn't
except
listen
for
to the
whoever
show.
A Bill is.
Yeah.
Yeah, A Bill 13 really ruined Travis's week.
Hey, Bill 13. He's
Dang.
like noob 69.
You know what's funny? He wrote that review in like April.
April, we just saw it.
We're really
Jeez,
up to date.
you guys. Gotta
I'm gonna
keep
put it
up
on a
with
shirt.
that.
I'm gonna put it on a t-shirt. All press is good press.
That's
All
true.
press is good press. It's true.